All right, let's dive right into a massive shakeup happening in the Greek vacation rental market. If you own a property there, manage one, or are even just thinking about it, you're going to want to pay very close attention. What we're about to cover could literally define your future in this business.
So, are you running a place on Airbnb, Booking.com, or maybe VRBO? If that's you, listen up, because your entire operation is about to face a major test. Go ahead and pull out your calendar, find October 1st, 2025, and circle it in red, because on that day, everything, and I mean everything, changes. This isn't some small tweak, it's a complete overhaul of the rules, the biggest the Greek market has ever seen. And yep, the clock is ticking.
Okay, so let's get into the nitty-gritty. This is the new compliance checklist straight from what's known as Law 5170/2025. And here's the crucial part. This is not a pick-and-choose menu. You have to check off every single box.
First up, the basics of the property itself. It's got to be classified as a primary residence, and it needs to have good natural light and ventilation. Now, a really big one, air conditioning or some other approved cooling system is now mandatory. No more getting by without it. Then there's the paperwork. You've got to have civil liability insurance, a new safety certificate from a licensed electrician, and ground fault circuit breakers installed. Think of these as the absolute baseline.
Next, let's talk fire safety and hygiene. This means having fire extinguishers that are, actually functional, plus smoke detectors everywhere guests will be. You'll also need to prove you're up to code with all local fire department standards. And it doesn't stop there. You'll need up-to-date certificates for pest and rodent control, and you need to have your professional cleaning process written down and documented.
Every single property, no exceptions, now has to have an emergency preparedness kit. But listen very closely, because this is a huge detail meant to protect you legally. The kit must contain supplies only. Absolutely no medications, not even an aspirin. This is a critical point to make sure you don't run into any liability issues with your guests.
So what exactly needs to be in this kit? Well, the list is super specific. We're talking sterile gauze, bandages, disposable gloves, antiseptic wipes, scissors, tweezers, and an electronic thermometer. You'll also need a thermal emergency blanket. And, just as important, a very clear list of emergency contacts. 112, which is the emergency number for all Europe, plus local police, ambulance, fire department, the nearest hospital, and of course your own contact info.
So you might think, okay, I've done the work, I'm all set. But are you sure? The government is backing all these new rules with a pretty serious inspection system. And, you guessed it, some very painful fines if you're not in compliance.
Now, the good news is, they're not just going to ambush you. The process seems designed to be somewhat cooperative. You'll get at least a 10-day heads up before a team shows up, and that team will be a joint effort from the Ministry of Tourism and the Tax Authority, the IAPR. They'll go through all your paperwork first, and then do a walkthrough of the property to make sure everything you say you have is actually there.
So, what's the price for messing this up? Let's say you miss just one thing. For a first-time violation, it's a flat €5,000 fine. Boom! That's a pretty hefty penalty right out of the gate. And it doesn't stop there. If you don't fix the problem, the fines actually double with each offense. They can climb all the way up to a whopping €20,000 for repeat offenders. The message here could not be clearer. They are not messing around. So, with all this new reality, every single property owner is now standing at a fork in the road. You basically have two choices, and you've got to make a decision before that October deadline hits.
And it all boils down to one simple question. Are you in or are you out? Do you keep your rental license or do you just cancel it? If you keep it, yeah, you've got to spend the money and time to meet all these rules, and you'll have inspections, but hey, you get to keep that rental income flowing. If you cancel, you'll dodge all the costs and headaches, but that's it. You're out of the short-term rental game for good. It's a huge strategic decision.
Look, with the stakes this high, just waiting around is not a smart move. So let's get practical. What do you need to be doing right now? Here's your pre-October action plan.
Okay, here are 5 things you should probably do immediately. 1. Do a complete audit of your property using this new checklist. 2. Start crunching the numbers and make a real budget for what all this is going to cost. 3. Get on the phone now and start scheduling electricians and pest control because trust me, they're about to get very busy. 4. Call your insurance agent and make sure your liability coverage is up to snuff. And 5. If you use a property manager, you need to sit down and have a very clear talk about who is responsible for what.
Now we have to be honest, there's still some big question marks here. The community of property owners is buzzing about some real-world problems. This quote kind of sums it up perfectly. What about those beautiful old stone houses that just weren't designed for modern AC? How are they supposed to comply? We're still waiting for the ministry to clarify some of these gray areas.
Let's just zoom out for a second, away from the checklists and the fines. Because this whole thing isn't just about individual properties. The goal here is to kick off a whole new era for tourism in Greece.
You can really see the two sides of the coin here. On the one hand, you have the potential benefits, better safety for guests, higher quality properties across the board. But then you have the market concerns, and they are very real. People are worried that these costs are going to push small, independent owners right out of the market. That can mean fewer places to stay and a whole lot more red tape for everyone who's left. So, if the little guy might get squeezed, who stands to gain the most? Well, the general consensus from experts is pretty clear. The big winners are likely to be the large professional property management companies. They've got the staff, the systems, and the money to handle all this new complexity, which could lead to them snapping up a much bigger piece of the market. And that brings us right back to the most important question. That October 1st, 2025 deadline is set in stone. It's not moving. And all signs point to enforcement being active from day one. A new reality for renting properties in Greece is coming, whether we like it or not. The only question left is, will you be ready for it?